As we students, we always question why we should learn design thinking. We would like to extend a warm greeting to everyone present at the 43rd session of the Fireside Chat, where we will be discussing the subject of design thinking. I, Neeta Tamankar from Pharmatech first year.
And myself, Aditi Bhoge from BTech CE first year, will be your host for today's fireside chat. So, today I feel delighted to introduce the guest speaker, Ms. Priyanka Gupta. Ms. Priyanka has experience working with international organizations in India and Singapore and India in the field of human resources management, training, entrepreneurship, and education, and currently heading in the HR and personal procedure in Peter.
So, ma'am, how are you feeling on this beautiful Saturday morning?
Lovely. Today is a good day. So happy. And thank you so much for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to interact with, young students. Definitely.
Good to
Very
hear
welcome,
that,
ma'am.
ma'am. Can you explain us the basic principle of the design thinking and how they can be applied in problem solving?
Sure. So, okay, so good morning, everyone. And again, thank you very much for inviting me. It's always great to, talk to youngsters and gives me a serotonin kick to, help you out. So thank you so much again. All right, so design thinking is basically a problem-solving approach, which is the beauty of design thinking lies in the first phase. So there are 5 different phases in design thinking. The first one is empathy. Now, I'm sure you know the difference between sympathy and empathy, right? Sympathy is when your friend has just recently had a breakup, let's say. And sympathy is when you say, oh, I'm so sorry. Good that it happened. That girl or that boy was not good for you, blah, 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 right? Now, the reaction maybe of your friend would be like, excuse me, I'm extremely sad because I broke up with this boy or girl. And now you're telling me that that girl or boy is not good. So maybe I don't want to hear that, right? Because I love that person. So that is where sympathy goes wrong at times, right? And that is where empathy is extremely important. If you really want to empathize with your friend, of course, you would know your friend, right? What kind of relationship they had and what is he or she feeling. So if you want to empathize, a better way of saying would be, you have to know your friend. Maybe your friend is not good at talking when he's or she's sad. So a better way would be just sitting with him or her and just being there, right? Maybe that's what he or she wants. And I'm sure you must have experienced that if you do that, your relationship grows much better with your friend. And the friend will always come back to you when he or she has a problem, because you are not biased. You are not, you're not putting your thoughts into it. Rather, you are thinking about the problem or the situation from the other person's perspective. And that's exactly what empathy is. Looking at things from the other person's perspective and not from your own perspective. So that is the key in design thinking. Actually, that's the first phase and the most critical one. This exactly is the difference between design thinking and any other problem solving approach. So empathy is key. Second is define, right? So once you've empathized with the user, then you exactly define the problem. So the way we do design thinking is we will take a challenge statement. We will not take a problem statement, right? We will just take a challenge statement. Let's say social media addiction. It's a challenge statement. And we start with the process of empathy. Now, empathy also is a detailed process. The first and very important part of empathy is you have to unlearn. Okay. So now all of us have our own perspectives on everything, pretty much, at least whatever we've seen. Now, let's say social media addiction, maybe not me, but generally elder people will say that, oh, it's such a ruckus, social media is just ruining the new generation, blah, blah, blah. But then when we think from the younger generation's perspective, it's like, first, you've grown up with social media. So you cannot imagine your life without social media. So it may be too harsh to even say, do not use Instagram, do not use WhatsApp and be connected with everyone. Because you've not seen a world which is not connected. We've seen it. You guys have hardly seen it, right? So you have to first define your audience. Now, again, when I say social media addiction, it's a broad challenge statement. You have to narrow it down. Whose social media addiction are you talking about? Is it younger generation or even older generation have social media addiction now, right? Parents, us, all of us, in fact, different age groups. So you have to define your audience very clearly, because the problems of students will not be same as problems of a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old, right? If you try to define the problem on a very large scale, you may not end up with a very defined specific problem. So first is unlearn, forget everything that you know about it. So even as students, suppose if you work on this topic, first thing is write down whatever you know about it and then just throw it in the dustbin, because those are your perspectives. We are not making a solution just for you, right? We are making solution for a very broad range of audience. Then you define the audience. Okay, who are we making the solution for? So it can be defined very specifically, like an age group of, even, kids now have that. Social media may, if I have to include, I'm sure you include YouTube. So even a 2-year-old has this problem, right? They don't eat without social media. So do you want to define? So define it, 2 to 6-year-old or 6 to 12-year-old. Then teenagers have their own, 13 to 18, etc., etc. So now you define who is your audience. So for example, let's take you guys, right? You are what, 18 to 25, right? That would be your age group. So, so now when we define audiences, we define the core audience, which is the person who is directly affected by the challenge. That's your core audience. So let's say 18 to 25-year-old. And then you define the extended audiences. Now, who are the extended audiences? Extended audiences are the people who can influence the problem indirectly, not very directly, but indirectly. So as students, core audience is you. Who would be your extended audiences? Who are, I think there are lesser people, no? You can unmute and answer. Design thinking cannot be one way. So who would be your extended audiences? Anyone, tell me. Who can indirectly influence the social media challenge? Hosts, you will be the first ones, because I can only see you.
The friends might also influence us for.
Absolutely, right? So you are the core audience. First is your friends, right? Then, और कौन आता
है? The things that we see on social media might influence us.
Your content creators?
Right.
So the ones who are creating content, your friends. Then if you look at the problem again, if you're talking about social media addiction, then obviously psychologists and therapists would come into the picture, right? Then there will also be your app creators, whoever is creating that social media network, right? Those are the people. So like this, you define the audiences. Now you see, first, when you say social media addiction, you're like, "Arey kharab hai ya acha hai, nahi hum to ji nahi sakte uske bina," whatever. You're just thinking from your perspective and maybe your friend circle. But when we look at a challenge, you look at, first of all, do not look from your own perspective. Define the audience, and then the extended audience play a very important role, right? Because if I say social media addiction, a therapist will have a lot of insights, right? Because not your friends don't come and talk to you. Oh, I'm addicted, or maybe not. Maybe 1-2 friends, but you don't have enough. So a therapist would be a right person, because then again, when you go and talk to the therapist, your questions would be very specific to 18 to 24 or 25, because she is or he is dealing with all the age groups. So now this is how you define your audiences. So that's the first step. Empathy takes the most time, and you should invest the maximum time there, because if we empathize well, we will define the problem well, and then rest will follow and you will always be right. So going back, what are the 5 phases? First is empathy. Isme you have different, sub processes. So once you've unlearned, then you define your audiences. Once you've defined your audiences, again, this is what is different in design thinking. When we say research, it's more of what are the methods that you use for research? If I say go research on, some particular patients suffering with XYZ, so what do? First thing that you do is
Google search.
Google search. Yeah. So now Google search is secondary research. It's secondhand information, right? So in design thinking, we only do primary research. We do not do secondary research, not yet. Right? So Google karna matlab random. Do you know the sources? You don't know. Kisi ne kuch article likha hai, but do you know the depth of it? What he was thinking, what she was thinking? What is the entire background? You don't know. So Google is secondary research. We do not do that. We only do primary research. Again, then another way is like you guys keep doing, right? We get so many surveys. Ma'am, we are doing this project. Please form hai, ye bhar ke de do. Now, in that form, you have whatever, 8, 10, 20, 30 questions. And I just have to say yes, no, or, certain things. Then you look at the data completely, and then fir aap apne graph banaoge, chart banaoge, and then you'll say that, okay, 90% of the people are suffering from social media addiction. What is your sample size? Kitna hoga? 100, 200? Right? Now, yes, there is a way. It's not wrong. Of course, it's also one of the ways. But again, you get limited perspective because only though you get answers for only those 20 questions which you've asked. Can you add another question? मैं जब form fill कर रही हूँ मुझे और भी I can remember a lot of points which are not there in your questionnaire. So you miss out on that information, right? So survey, definitely you have to use when you have a lot of subjects, like big number of subjects, you do surveys and all. But in design thinking, we do primary research where what we do is the best way is to put yourself in the shoes of the other person. Now, when we actually do design thinking, so suppose there's a startup who's, has me as a consultant and they say, hamara sales nahi ho raha hai, whatever. So I can't just sit with the sales team and come up with a solution. No. Again, define the audiences. I'll tell them who are your audiences, who is your core audience. Tell me who is your customer. Very precise. I'll go and talk to the customers. I'll go and talk to the entire sales team, the HR team, the leadership, the competitors, everything. All of those would be the extended audiences. So maximum time goes there. Now, when we empathize, it's more of conversations that we do in design thinking, not surveys, right? I will sit with you and, rapport building is very important because we want people to open up. We want to know the things that we don't know, right? That is where innovation comes, no? If there is a problem, everyone knows there is a problem and everyone tries to solve it. सबको पता है ये problem है, like social media addiction, सबको पता है, screen time कम करना है, सबको पता है. अब कैसे करें, उस पे lock लगा दो, ये लगा दो, वो लगा दो, but then would you like it? We don't know that. So that is why empathy is extremely important. Then when we talk to them, it is very conversational, take your time, half an hour, 1 hour, and then note things down. So there is a format for empathy maps. So again, what is the user thinking, feeling, seeing, all of that you have to fill up. And once you come back, and again, in empathy, in design thinking, you don't need to talk to like hundreds of people. Even if you do it well with 10 each from each of the audiences, you're good to go. The key is we are looking for insights, surprising insights. Normal insights to milegi, jo hame bhi pata hai, sabko pata hai. But the key is we look for surprising insights, and that's where innovation lies. So once you have defined once you have listed down your insights, you mark your surprising insights. Based on those surprising insights, 1, 2, 3, 4 milake, whatever, you come up with your problem statement. Now, the second phase is define, where we actually define the problem. Right? So again, there is a format, there's a point of view statement that you have to make. You define the problem statement in a single sentence, and then you move on to the third phase, which is ideation. So now this is pretty much similar to all the other approaches where you ideate, you brainstorm. In design thinking, one of the key things is that we say that don't limit your thoughts, just go crazy. The crazier the ideas, the better. Because we, in design thinking, we promote futuristic thinking. We promote wild and crazy ideas, moonshot thinking, think 10x. Don't think about feasibility. Don't think about whether we have the money to invest or not. Wo sab later. But when you're doing ideation, you come up with as many ideas as you can. And then you take a step back and you look at all the ideas, and then either you take one idea or a combination of 2, 3 ideas and come up with your big idea. Now that is where your big idea has come up. Then you do your prototype, which is, again, in design thinking, you do rapid prototyping. Don't invest too much time for perfection, that I want to, make it perfect. No, do it very, very fast. The iterations are a lot. Prototype and then go test. Now, who do you test this with? Testing ke liye, where will you go?
Firstly to friends and
Your same, no? The audiences which you started with.
yeah.
because you're making the solution for the core audience and the extended ones, right? So you go back to them, you show them, okay, this is what we've made. What do you think? Let them see, let them use it, let them go through it. Again, you have to be very observant there. Take your notes. What are they liking? What are they not liking? What are they not happy with, etc., etc. And then you go back, either work on it. If not needed, great. And then it's a cyclic process. And innovation does not stop, right? It is an iterative process always. Aisa kabhi nahi hota hai you've made one product and bas khatam, like Google itself, right? It was a groundbreaking product, but do they stop innovating? No, they can't. The ChatGPT bhi aa gaya, so that's a different story. But you can't stop innovation at all. So then it becomes a cyclic process. So in short, this is what design thinking is.
Thank you, ma'am, for your keywords. My next question is, how can organizations integrate design thinking into their culture and processes?
So design thinking is a mindset. Okay. Once you build it, it will be there with you throughout your life, because problems never end, right? Whether personal problems, professional problems will always be there. It's just an approach. It's a mindset that you create. So of course, training is required. People need to know about it. People need to know the in-depth way of doing it. Now, of course, when I told you all of this, maybe it was too much information. Oh God, okay, it's so cumbersome. Itna karna hota hai. But if you keep doing it over and over, so if anyone, say my son also comes with a problem to me, right? That jo bhi hai, my whatever, usko teacher ne डांट दिया या not being, some bullying is happening, right? Anything. Now here also, when bullying is happening, you may jump to solutions saying that, oh, usne tumhe mara, tum bhi maar do, depending on what you have, what I think as a person, right? I may say, go hit him back. Or I may say, no, beta, ahimsa, we will not be doing that. You can't be doing that. You can't hit them back. So what do I do? Maar khate raho. Yeah, there can be third and fourth and different ways. So again, these solutions, I'm jumping to solutions just based on what I have seen in my life, which may not be right. So I have to see, okay, why is my son getting bullied? Why are other kids bullying? Every school, there is a different story, right? So I need to understand all of that. What are the teachers doing? Are they aware? How do they? So I have to literally talk to everyone, get their perspective. And again, it's not cumbersome, right? Once you are into the habit, you know how to get information out of people, the right information. And, best learning lies in asking the right questions. So again, in design thinking, when we do empathy, when we define the audiences, we literally create questionnaire also. Very open-ended questions. We want stories. That's what pretty much a therapist also does, right? Like they deep dive into what you've done over the years. Talk to me. So we have to, do similar things. So it's a mindset. Once it's created, you're good to go for life. So in organizations, it starts right from the top, because, the leadership has to believe in it. The leadership has to act accordingly, think accordingly, and then you trickle it down to the juniors as well. So there are trainings that happen, at different levels. And again, you empathize with the audiences, whichever company it is, whatever they are doing, what is their background, engineers hai, management trainees hai, whatever. So according to that, you build a program and you deliver. But in short, वही कर रहे हैं जो मैंने आपको start में बताया.
Yes, ma'am. That is the main. Leadership is the main in design thinking. So, ma'am, I have a question. How do you gather and incorporate user feedback?
So user feedback. So first is empathy. In the first phase itself, when we are talking to people, we are gathering their insights. Then when you go to the test phase, which is the last phase, like I said, you go back to them. Suppose you've created an app, let's say, for example, just let them use the app, right? Don't tell them aise karna hai, waise karna hai. Just let them play around, because the success of the app is when when you make an app, it's like make it for a 2-year-old. The most foolish person should be able to use your app. That means your app will get successful. That's the whole objective of UI, UX, the designing bit, right? Let them go through it and then observe. Now, again, in design thinking, there's a lot of focus on emotions. We are not talking just about data and numbers. We are talking majorly about emotions. So you have to, study the body language also, that he was not able to go aage. He was not able to figure out where is the next button. So he got annoyed. Note that down. He was looking for something, but he got like not pleasantly surprised. Note that down. And then ask them that, I know. So that's why when we interview people, best is to do it in person, because you're not just listening to the words that they're saying, you are actually looking at the entire body language and understanding what's happening. And that's when you keep questioning them even more. That, I observed that you were a little upset when you came to this page. Can you tell me what was going on in your mind? What were you expecting? You saw this, but what were you expecting? Note that down. That's where you see your insights. Because when we are creating something, we have those ideas fixed in our minds. We are too much into it. But when the third person looks at it and the person who's going to use it, there you get, great insight. So again, testing also, no surveys, nothing. Do it in person. That's always the best.
Okay, ma'am. So, ma'am, can you share an example of successful project or a case study that utilized design thinking?
Loads of them. All the companies, right from Apple, IBM, Coca-Cola, all the startups, the good ones, everyone uses design thinking. You would know Airbnb, right? Everyone knows Airbnb. So
Yes, ma'am.
yeah. So, back when they started Airbnb, they were not doing enough business, right? They were just hardly like $200 a week or something like that. And it was just not working. And the founders literally were about to give up that, okay, this is not working. They were Silicon Valley people, so they were like, okay, let's move on to something else. This is not working. But then, they used design thinking and they tried to look at their product from a customer's perspective. And the first thing that they actually saw was, so if it's my house that I'm putting up on Airbnb, I'm clicking pictures with my phone. And 2009, 8, sometime, that time, the phones were also not that great. So the picture quality was really bad. Whatever pictures were being uploaded on their app, on their website, the quality was really bad, is what they observed. And that put the customers off. And now you look at the Airbnb pictures, you will not see a single picture which is like even clicked from an iPhone or something. They actually do photo shoot and, do it well. So that's what they realized. And literally within a week, their business started doubling up. Just when they saw that, okay, high quality pictures, upload those and the business. And now we know how great Airbnb is doing. So it's not that they stop there, right? They continuously have to keep doing that. That's just one thing. There are loads of things. Maybe, so again, go and stay in your own places, different places, see what is the problem. Maybe, like, I don't like, maybe people are not putting fresh bed sheets. Maybe there is a crease on the bed sheet and that puts people off. If you're, renting a very nice property, you don't like that also. So those kind of, minute details you have to do. Like hotel management, if students doing, they work and they get to sit in the hotels because they need to experience what our customers expecting. Then only they will be able to deliver that kind of quality, right? So lots of examples.
Right, ma'am. There are many other examples of successful projects. So, ma'am, what are common challenges that we face while implementing design thinking, and how can they be addressed?
So, first, the most common problem we all do, it's a habit, is jumping to solutions. Right? Like if my son comes and tells me people are bullying me, I will tell him, bully them back, or shut up, don't do anything, or whatever. What am I doing? I'm directly giving him solutions. So this is the biggest mistake that we make. So in design thinking, it gets very difficult because we are wired. Our brain is wired that way. We're used to it, doing that all our lives. So that becomes a challenge when I have to keep telling them, okay, come back to the challenge. Let's not jump to the solutions. We're not talking about solutions till we come to the ideate stage. No talking about solutions at all. So one is that. Second is, like I said, right, asking the right questions will give you the right information. So many a times people, again, we train, right, in questionnaire and even interviewing skills, we train as part of the workshop, that how do you conduct interviews. So some people, lag there because they're just not able to build the rapport with a stranger. So then it gets difficult because you're not getting interesting insights. Everything is like, okay, we know that, and nothing is surprising. So that is where usually, the problem lies. Also, when we get into the ideation stage, many a times people have already thought of an idea in the beginning itself. Or ghoom fir ke wo wahi idea they want to, talk about. So many a times we fall too much in love with our own idea. So we are not able to detach from that. Then next is, judgment. We're very judgmental in our thought process, right? So, I mean, it takes a lot of time. In fact, one of the only feedback that I've received in my career was that when I was coming back from Singapore, that very senior person, and he was heading IT for APAC. So I used to work with him closely, and then he said that, there's only one thing, Priyanka, you need to improve upon, which is don't judge people. Don't judge anything. Let it just be whatever it is, right? So, when I was just 22, so, alcohol, okay, koi daru pee raha hai, to I'll just quickly put them into one bracket and just stay away, right? Because not seen that growing up, never, seen alcohol in my life, like essay. So whenever I used to see, I used to just judge those people, right? Ki acha nahi, inse dur raho, right? Inse hum, like professional only types. And so judgment it's very human. It's there in all of us. But when we do design thinking, in the first key, like I said, right, unlearn. Forget about whatever you know. Alcohol is good or bad. You are no one to decide. Let's not do that. Let's talk to people. If it is good for some people, why is it? I don't know, right? So I need to understand from others. So removing that bias is also, kind of gets difficult. But as you keep doing it over and over, even in one workshop, right, by the end of it, you realize the importance of it, and then you're good to go. Then you stop doing that throughout your life.
Also, ma'am, if you got a particular project and you have to, like, there are many problems in the particular and you have to analyze it. So what would you suggest that tips for analyzing the problems and getting the quick solutions to it?
So quick is something that we don't do, right? You spend enough time. Empathy is where you're analyzing the problem, right? Analyzing the people, analyzing the whole background. And then when you define, now again, if I say social media addiction, it's a very broad term. It's a very broad challenge statement. Beauty of design thinking is when you go and talk to all of them, you will come up with a problem statement which you had not even thought about ever. And that is what we need. We don't need too much analysis. We just need information. And then you, of course, when you get all the information, insights, that's when you define the problem. That's when you analyze just in terms of, okay, there are actually 10 problems. Now, which one do I want to pick? Again, you have to be passionate about it. You have to understand that, okay, this is a major one. This will help most people. This will, this is helping masses. This is more scalable. So you pick whatever you want. And even one tweak, like in Airbnb example, right? They just changed the picture quality. Just the picture quality and the business changed. Now, like that, you have to keep picking up problems and then keep solving. So there is not just one problem which will solve everything. No, it is multiple problems. So every time you pick one or two or three and then just focused work on that. Then move on and pick another problem.
Right,
Okay,
ma'am.
ma'am.
So there are many methodologies like Lean and Six Sigma. So how design thinking differ from problem solving and these methodologies?
So Lean and Six Sigma is more process oriented, right? You go into a company or you go into a company and then see, okay, sales are not happening. They will most probably pick up a process that, okay, the lead generation process is not that great. So let's, automate it. Of course, there also you have to think from a customer's perspective, but not as in depth as we do in design thinking. Second, Lean and Six Sigma will improve the efficiency. It may not help in innovation, because like I said, innovation happens when there is something surprising. You're like, oh, right, this is the main problem and I want to solve it. This kind of surprising insights will not come in the Lean and Six Sigma. So Lean Six Sigma is more for continuous improvement. Aapne ek baar kar diya, let's say Airbnb may, like, the bed pe crease kyun aayi? Right? That's a surprising insight ki, oh, okay, wo utni si crease ki wajah se people get put off. That's where design thinking will take you. Now, if you want to make it into a process ki, acha, all our 2,000 hotel properties or whatever, 10,000 properties, kisi bhi bed mein crease nahi aani chahiye. Now, that is where Lean and Six Sigma comes into picture, that, okay, you know that, okay, this is what you need to do, 5 steps to ensure that creases don't come. And then how do you scale it to 2,000? Then it'll, put processes, maybe they'll come up with a new bed sheet, that whole thing, right? Now, for example, when we put bed sheets, pehle aati thi ki only the normal ones, right? The square ones. Now you have those, what do they call, that elastic jo hota hai, and you can just put it inside. It's like a bed cover. It's like, so it's much easier to use, and this crease thing doesn't happen. Now, whoever came up with that idea pretty much used design thinking, no? Because he or she must have gone through that problem. Ki, oh my God, itni bhari, the beds are there, and then you have to put, and then back kharab hota hai, ye hota hai, lots of things. So easier, aisa kuch elastic laga lo ki fat main uthaun aur dalu as a cover and khatam ho jayega. So design thinking has been actually used in very, very small things also. Professor David Kelly from IDEO in Stanford, he is the one who structured the whole design thinking process and, used it. And he has, I think ab to bahut ho gaya, but almost 300, 400 patents in his name. Right? So his patents kab milte hain? Jab innovation hota hai na? Something that you have done, nobody else has done, and then you patent it. So he is the one who has come up with, simple things like your electronic brush. He's the inventor, right? Right from small things like electronic brush to MRI machines and, all the medical equipment and so many variety of things he's innovated. Now, invention, a person innovating a toothbrush to an MRI machine, he needs to understand neuroscience. He needs to understand a lot of things. MRI machine, aap aur main, if you think of it, you feel like, oh my God, how do I solve a problem on MRI machine? I don't know enough about it. So that's where design thinking comes, where you don't need to know, right? You have to empathize with the users. You don't need to know. You get the experts. You have the neurosurgeons. You have the neurologists. You have the staff, who's managing the machine. All you have to do is talk to them. So that's why design thinking is a mindset. You can apply it anywhere. Your cooker is not working, and we Indians, in fact, are so good at it. It actually comes naturally because, the jugaad that we do, what is it? It's design thinking. Acha, ye problem hai, isme na niche se ye laga do. Those are quicker solutions, but somewhere you empathize with the user and you come up with the solution.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, can you talk about any notable failures or challenges you have encountered while using design thinking, and how are they addressed?
So same, right? Where you are not finding the audiences. So for example, my students in Abu Dhabi, they had picked up the challenge of finding an alternate planet for human habitation. Right? Now, isme, who is the core audience? Humans. But extended audiences mein sabse pehle aayega aapka astronauts, because hum to gaye hi nahi hai na aur koi planet pe. So who do you talk to? You talk to ISRO, you talk to NASA. So, getting in touch with people for younger ones becomes a challenge, but that's the learning. And literally those kids actually got a 6-minute call with a scientist, with an astronaut in NASA. And that girl was coming to those, so design thing is always done in a group. So those kids were coming to India for vacation, and they went, so one girl was coming to Bangalore. She actually went to the ISRO office and she interviewed the scientists there. So the challenge is, yes, reaching out, but then again, when you do the process, we train you how to reach out, and that's how it's a very transformational program. You change as a person, because imagine the confidence of a 10th grader saying that, okay, I spoke to a NASA astronaut, I interviewed a NASA astronaut, and 10 ISRO scientists. So that's the beauty of it, but there is a challenge also. If you can't reach out, then kuch nahi hoga, right? We will not get your insights. So in case you're not being able to do it, that becomes a challenge. And all those things that I told you, right? The biases that have to be removed. Even when you're ideating, I keep telling, go crazy, but you're so limited in your thought process in the daily life that it becomes a little difficult to go wild. And some people just go wild. They just love it, right? Especially kids. They love it. Oh my God, they come up with such amazing ideas. And those are actually great. One of the groups in Dubai, they had come up with there was parking problems in Dubai is a big problem. So they had come up with a solution, and they were actually invited by the Ministry of unka jo kya tha? RTA. जैसे हमारा RTO होता है, उनका RTA होता है. So they were invited by there and they presented, and they really liked the idea also. So that's the beauty of it, right? Kids solving parking problem in Dubai. It is possible. It's just mindset. And again, like I said, they don't need to be the experts, right? They go and talk to the experts. So how do you get information out of them is very important. Sometimes people struggle with that. And then again, jumping to solutions, same things that I mentioned to you.
Right, ma'am. So as you talk about ideas, are there any new trends or developments in design thinking that you find exciting?
No, design thinking is a set process, right? So there is no innovation in that, because it works. It just works. So trends I'm excited about is the fact that, we are talking about design thinking in colleges, which is great, because if at this age, and I do programs for kids also as young as grade 7. So if you imagine if you develop this kind of problem solving approach at an early age, your life will become much easier, because every time you will see a problem, let's say, your spouse is not talking to you for some reason, or getting very angry, or someone is someone has to go on mute. So if any problem that you come across, if you build that mindset, it becomes much easier. And mostly if you see what is stress, it is because we are not being able to finding a solution is much easier. Defining the problem is more difficult. So this trend that's now happening, that right from schools to colleges to companies, of course, companies are also now training the younger employees also, not just at leadership. So leadership is one, yes, it helps them to define and innovate and take the company ahead. But if every person in the organization thinks in the same way, it'll be much faster, it'll be much much more innovative. So that's something that is good that's happening.
Ma'am, do you think AI can create an impact on design thinking?
Can, of course can, right? Because see, when we are going and interviewing people, we are trying to find the most information in 1 hour, right? Now AI knows everything about me, right? My data is all there. What do I like to eat, and where do I go, and what do I do on the weekends, and what do I watch, everything. So definitely that kind of data, AI will definitely help, right? If I let's say ChatGPT ko main likh दूं कि 18 to 24-year-olds, what are they doing on social media? Again, the skill is to ask the right questions to ChatGPT also. It'll give you answers, but it's not there yet, right? They need more data. But these kind of superficial data, definitely AI can give us better than that. But design thinking is human centric. The users are human. The users are not AI or a machine, right? The users are either human or even animals, right? Or plants or living beings, basically. So we are making, chahe aap building bana rahe ho, chahe aap AI bana rahe ho, whatever you're making at the end for the human, right? So you cannot eliminate that human aspect. You have to understand what the user is needing. So AI can supplement definitely, but not replace the human, element of things.
Right, ma'am. AI is already ruling over everything. So, can human resources and design thinking can be amalgamated, and how they can solve employee problems?
Same, empathize with the employees, right? अब HR बन के अगर आपको रंगोली competition ही चलानी है, then it will not work, no? Because first step of empathy would be, okay, what do employees think of rangoli competition? They're like, we hate it. Nobody wants to do it. So scrap it, doesn't work. So yeah, design thinking helped a lot, right? For example, pandemic. Suddenly we had to get out of the offices and start working online. And now we could empathize very well because we were also in the same boat, right? We were also working from home. So we knew that, okay, what are the challenges? You know, there are challenges like कि घर में जगह कम पड़ रही है, especially Bombay employees, right? I've seen people resigned because अब बस, the moment the pandemic was over, they were like कि नहीं, हमें office जाना है. And I'm in Pune, and we were like, "Okay, who wants to go to office now? It is so comfortable. Like, you know, you can do so many things, blah, blah." But then that girl tells me that, Priyanka, I don't have space. My sister is also working from home. My mom is there. My father is there. My daddy is also there. And then I'm like, okay, right. Your house is in Bombay. So 1,000 square feet, बहुत हो गया. Right? उसमें इतने लोग कैसे होगा? So that's why she was desperate. No, I want to get out of the house. I want to go to office. That's why I'm resigning. People are coming and joining us because work from home hai, work from anywhere hai. Again, you know, like there is this company, Dream 11. One of our investors only, so I was talking to their HR, the CHRO, and he was saying, so when the pandemic kind of got over and they were like, Priyanka, these kids just do not want to come back to office. We are doing everything. Like, of course, Dream 11, their office is crazy, right? Amazing, amazing, world class and whatnot. कुछ नहीं, free food, free everything, सब कर दिया, कुछ नहीं, क्योंकि again, Bombay traffic. The kids have gone back to their hometowns or they are going to Himalayas, chilling and working from there, working from Goa, you know, 25, 26-year-olds. Why would they want to come back to office and be in that local train or whatever, the cab, you know, traffic? So one of the things that they actually did was that they have their new office in BKC. And they said, you know what? If you take up a house within 2-kilometer radius of the office, we will pay 70% of your rent. Now, rent in Bombay is huge. So that becomes a good bait, right? Because people have gone back to their hometowns, their leases are gone. Now looking for a house also is difficult. But if I get this, that okay, BKC ke around fancy area, and if my 70% rent is paid, I would say, okay, let me come. So these kind of, solutions. So design thinking everywhere, of course, human resources to hai na, people, I mean, everything, right? Performance issues. If we have to, put people in performance improvement plan, we do the process and everything, but you add the human element wherein the manager, if he or she tries to understand what's happening with that person, you're not performing, not because you don't know it or you're not capable most of the times, but there is something wrong. So then, so that's how we keep in touch with our employees a lot. We know what's happening. Someone is going through a divorce. So obviously we give them we have a mental wellness helpline that we started looking at, what was happening in the pandemic. So we tell them, okay, go talk to them. Of course, I don't want to get into everyone's personal life, but people do come in, and if they want to talk, I talk, kind of counsel and send them to the, the person, therapist or whoever can help them. Then, there are times when we say, okay, let's give her or him 1 more month. Things are happening and counseling karo, sab karo. नहीं करेंगे PIP, but नहीं हो रहा है, तो then PIP business has to run, so that has to go on. So it's all design thinking all the time.
Ma'am, can you suggest some tips to the newly interested individuals who are interested in learning design thinking, like directly from the start?
So one, design thinking cannot be learned in theory. You have to do it to actually learn it. So of course, one is, read up case studies, because that will give you an idea of how it works and what worked, what didn't work. But it can only help you to a certain point, what I would suggest is, if you want to start off, read up. If you can get a mentor, like, a 6 hours workshop is always pretty good to start with. Not for students ko thoda zyada lagta hai, but at least for professionals and all. So, okay, read up, watch videos, read up case studies, and then pick up a challenge statement and then work on it. You can't leave it halfway. It will not. Design thinking, the entire process has to be done. At least do it once, then you will get it. Uske baad mein, you don't have to do it all in detail. Once you get that mindset, then anytime you look at a problem, you will say, okay, आपका पहला solution आएगा दिमाग में, and the first thing you need to do is, no, I am not jumping to solutions. Empathy. किसके साथ problem है, पहले समझो. I mean, your life becomes so much easier. People will be so happy with you. So start there. Do one project completely. Use design thinking in your college projects. Everyone has to do projects, right? So start with empathizing. Define your audiences. Go talk to them, and you will see your project will be next level.
Okay, sure, ma'am.
Actually need that. So, ma'am, how can design thinking be applied to address complex social and environmental issues?
Same, right? I told you, people are solving NASA and human habitation problems se lekar to toothbrush bana rahe hain. You take any real world problem. You take a problem as simple as, like I see, right? Ki kai logo ke yahan, their maids are always not there, right? Running away. टिकती नहीं है. मम्मियों को पूछो, जिंदगी का सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है. Use design thinking. First thing is, go and ask Papa. That Papa, let's empathize with the maid first. Right? Maid is your core audience. वो भाग रही है. You empathize with the maid. And then who are your extended audiences? Your mother, your father, your family, बाकी की maids. You go and empathize with them, and I'm sure your papa will be able to say that, okay, mama ये करती है ना उनके साथ, that's why ये नहीं जाती है. तो you'll get very surprising insights. वो निकाल लो और बस उस पे define the problem and solve it. So right from a maid problem to your global hunger ले लो, आप pollution ले लो, आप traffic ले लो, आप कुछ भी ले लो, you can solve it.
Ma'am, you have worked in India and Singapore. What are the main differences in the mindset that you have discovered yet?
Singapore is more structured, right? The people there are very disciplined. So that's amazing, right? And they're very data driven also, because of the education system and how it works. And you will never see anyone not following rules, right? So very disciplined, very structured. You can trustworthy, right? If you give them something, they will do it. If they can't do it, they'll come back and all. Difference in India is we are a little less structured. So if you use it in a good way in design thinking, it really helps. Because if I ask, let's say, Singaporeans, and if I tell them go wild with ideas, they'll take longer to get out of their structure. Just one second.
ड्राइवर भी नहीं आया. अरे चेक दो.
Who study English? So what was I saying? Yeah, they're more structured, and we are a little less structured. So when it comes to going wild, thinking moonshot and all, it comes naturally to us, and that is why the Jugaad philosophy that we have, right? Which is great. If you use it, don't use it everywhere. Then to phir nahi, it doesn't work. But jahan par karna hai, you use it. So that is what's there. They're very data driven. We are a little more people driven because of, again, the upbringing and the kind of ab to wo bhi kam ho raha hai, but still, yeah, I do see that that kind of difference. So yeah, risk taking is a little more in Indians, less there. So everything has positives and pros and cons.
Right, ma'am, that's absolutely true. So, how do you determine when a problem has been efficiently solved, or when it's time to move to the other challenge?
So when you test, So like, design thinking is an iterative process. It will not, एक बार में कभी आपको perfect solution मिलेगा ही नहीं for anything. You have to work towards it. But when you keep testing and when you see that, okay, 80-90% they are happy, maybe it's time to move on to the next one. But that doesn't mean that the iteration stops, right? If I have, let's say, if I have a college, if I've started a college, ठीक है, best curriculum, best teachers, best infrastructure, ये वो सब कुछ best हो गया. Okay, everyone is happy in the first year, second year. But then what? It will not stop, right? I have to keep innovating. I have to keep, like, we are doing this session today. So someone must have thought, right, that the students need to know much more than what's happening in the curriculum, what's happening in the world, what are better ways, what's the trending topic. So design thinking, to chalo kare, or this fire chat, that the concept is interesting, right? Every Saturday, 10 o'clock, you're inviting different people, giving exposure to the students. So it will never stop, right? Will your professors stop innovating? They can't. So it never stops, but yes, 80-90% if people are happy, and then for anything, it just has to be iterative. Innovation doesn't stop because problems don't stop, no?
Ma'am, while coming through your profile, we noticed that you are associated with corporate Gurukul. So what is exactly corporate Gurukul?
Corporate Gurukul is a Singapore-based company founded by Rajesh Panda. I was with them. So they started with college students, communication skills and all of those plans, like programs 15 years back. But now we're into, so I did design thinking for the students through Corporate Gurukul. So we created the entire curriculum and, delivered in different schools. And it is Singapore based and it has a tie-up with NTU and NUS. So when the students do programs with us on design thinking, so I train them completely, 3-4 months, we make our prototype and then we go to Singapore and we stay in the NUS campus or NTU, NUS campus we stay. And then there are 3 days, we have the NTU and NUS professors coming in. So for example, there's Dr. Tan, who is heading computer science engineering in NUS. So he comes as a faculty, and there is Lisa, who is humanities, something, but whatever. So she's heading one humanities and creative. She's actually a graphic designer of, like, she's been awarded like Oscars of graphic designing in the world. So those level of, these professors are super. So then 3 days, these professors, the students present to the professors and then they give feedback. So all 3 of us, we assess them. And we work day and night, and then there is final presentation. And then based on the presentation, they get letter of recommendation from both NTU and NUS, which, is a great experience. One, second, it builds your profile very strongly. So for example, if engineering students or school students want to aspire for Ivy League colleges, so they look at these kind of certifications, and it is world's top 10 universities. So it holds a lot of value. Apart from that, they do AI/ML training in NUS for engineering graduates and all, like final year students, third year students. They come stay in NUS for a month and they do entire, internship and training and everything, learning from the professors there. So that's what Corporate Gurukul does.
Ma'am, so how do you balance the need for creativity and innovation with the need for practicality and feasibility when using design thinking?
So when we ideate, we don't think of feasibility or anything, right? We just go wild. But then when you come up with a big idea, right? After working on so many, you come up with a big idea. That's when, anything you make has to turn into a business, right? I mean, people have to pay for everything. So everything turns into a business, whatever it is. So any product. So that's when you start thinking of the feasibility bit. That, okay, I will take, okay, Mars is a great planet. Let's take humans there. But kya? You will take the entire Earth there? Not possible. So that's where you start thinking of feasibility. That's where you again narrow down and create solutions only for the target audience, right? So again, of course, if we talk about rehabilitating to Mars, people like you and I, तो हम पीछे रहेंगे बहुत, right? There is Jeff Bezos और उनसे शुरुआत होगी. So you empathize with them, not with us, right? When you're creating the solution, if you want to take people there. So after ideation, once you define the big idea, that's when, as you create your prototype, you have to work on the feasibility, because you can't make a fancy, expensive product and then it'll just keep sitting. If nobody is using the product, then it's of no use, right? So that's the stage when we think of all this.
Ma'am, what is the one thought that you would like to leave with the audience?
Well, okay, lots of thoughts. Just keep learning. I think that's very important. I'm sure you guys are learning a lot in your college, in your institute. Your professors are doing a great job, definitely. But times are changing so fast. Don't just depend on, because they also have their limitations, right? They have the curriculum to finish and so many things. So don't depend on just one source. And today is the age of information, right? Information is freely available everywhere. So make the most of it, and don't just take information, apply it. If you don't apply it, then that information is of no use. It's just information. It's not knowledge. Knowledge comes with experience. So experience things, expose yourself to a variety of things. Don't limit yourself into anything, because now are the times, you can be anything, you can do anything. Like I keep saying, earning money in today's age is like the easiest thing to do. You just need to know how. So work on that how. What to sabko pata hai. Everyone has Google. Everyone can, give gyan on design thinking also, right? Thoda sa pad lo, thoda slides bana lo, okay, sikha diya. But if you don't apply it, then the beauty is not there. So the beauty lies in execution. Always remember, as youngsters, we have such amazing ideas, brilliant ideas, much better than, us, because your minds are free. You have not experienced the constraints of life as much as you grow old. So that is why in young age, you come up with great ideas, which is amazing. But things don't end at ideas, ideas sabke paas hai, bahut logon ke paas ideas aate hain. But the beauty lies in execution, and that takes work. So always remember that. And secondly, problems will never ever end. Struggle is a part of life, whoever you are. Even if you are Jeff Bezos or Narendra Modi or, normal people like you and I, we all have problems. Problems will never end. So learn how to solve problems. Then life is beautiful. And you're equipped and you're confident. Koi bhi problem aaye, I'll solve it. That's what needs to be built. Of course, education and everything is important. But this resilience, that grit is extremely important. And of course, we are fitter. So fitness is very, very important. Don't wait for, getting obese or getting all these, diabetes and cholesterol happening to 27, 28-year-old people. So don't wait for becoming unhealthy and then focus on your health. Focus on your health. And lastly, meditate. That is the key. Start with 5 minutes. Keep increasing. It's just beautiful. Now, finally, neuroscience is opening up to it, and now they are doing research in Stanford and Harvard, how meditation helps. It is the best exercise that you can do for your brain. So start doing that as well. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am. I personally learned a lot from this session, especially about your keywords like empathy and problem solving, and also all about the design thinking as a whole process. It was really a wonderful and informative session. We are indeed very grateful to have this interactive session with you. We got a very clear idea of how design thinking plays an important role in our lives. On behalf of our entire Saturday 10 a.m. team and student community, I would like to thank Ms. Priyanka Gupta for sparing her valuable time and interacting with our students.
Thank you so much for having me over. Always fun. God bless you, and apply. That's important.
Thank you, ma'am. And I also learned the part you explained about how design thinking is a mindset. We would like to extend our gratitude to Dr. Akshay Malhotra, our faculty mentors, Dr. Smita Bonde and Harshal Kotwal sir, for their constant support and guidance. Lastly, we would like to thank all the wonderful audience for joining us today and making this a successful session. And thank you, ma'am, for your valuable time.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you.